good, Amber? Stretch it this way. There we go. All right, all right. Welcome, everyone. This is our Thursday morning production call. We got a great one lined up for y'all today. Again, a ton of new agents, a ton of, I think, agents experimenting with different leads, different batch sizes, trying to grow your lead investment. So I think this is a much needed topic this time. Basically, right, it's how to work your leads, what kind of expectation to have. I think it's one of the biggest hurdles we have as a new agent, right? Is I'm investing in leads, but I'm not finding the results I want, right? And very often we're blaming ourselves. And I think that's wrong, right? Like so many times we're like, I'm not doing this right, so I need to go train on this or learn this. Most of the time you have good results. You're just not doing enough of one or two things, right? Which is investing in more leads or activity depending on the leads that you have. So I think it's easily confusing as a new agent to do the wrong thing, even though we have the right intention, because we don't have the right expectation. So we'll kind of dig into all that. But again, I always love to start, right? This is a 1 hour call. If you are on here, highly recommend you have your camera on so that you can be fully engaged, right? Notepad in front of you, take some notes, write these things down. It's going to be a lot of information. You are not going to remember all this. And then the biggest thing is, especially today, right? I say this in every week, where don't go change everything you're doing. Especially today, this is a touchy subject. Do not go out and change your lead type. Do not go radically change your lead investment without counseling with your upline. I'm going to give you all a whole bunch of general numbers of what to expect. Do not go do that by yourself. Please, please, please do not go do that by yourself. You have somebody that can help you guide you in the right direction, and you want to do it little by little, and you want to know all your numbers, because I'm going to kind of dig into that, right? Let me take some notes on this. Numbers on your leads. Because you want to make sure what works for you. What do I mean by that? Is everyone gets different results, and that's the beauty. Everything works, nothing works in particular, right? It's just you got to find your niche in this lead world and this activity world that's gonna help you find success. So again, right, take plenty of notes. What you want to do is counsel with your upline. Again, today's super particular, because you don't want to go change lead investments. You will hurt yourself. You want to counsel with your upline to make sure you do it properly, and then don't go revamp everything, right? Like do 2 or 3 things that you heard on the call today, and add this to your lead workflow, right? So that you can go find success. Again, most of y'all have written applications, so you know what to do, right? You're just probably not doing the right mixture of it if you're not finding the success you want. So, and then anything that you heard, if, right, today it'll be a lot of practical stuff you can go implement, right, without having to do it in your appointment. If any of that works, like, hey, I increase my dials, or I increase or I change these leads, right, and I'm finding success, that if y'all can post in band, it really does help other agents, right? Because we're a big community and we get to go learn together. So I'm going to start first with expectations and lead types, so that you can kind of start grasping the concept of what I'm going to go over today. And what do I mean by that is, depending on the leads you're getting, that's going to determine your results. What I loved about that is when I started to see these numbers, right, when they were shown to me, I fell in love with it because I knew what to expect, right? I started with 50-cent leads when I first came into the business. And what I loved about it is I wasn't worried about writing $5,000 with my $50 worth of leads. What I was worried about was they told me if I get 60 bonus leads, right, of the 50 cents, I might have 1 or 2 apps, right? That's what was my mission. I want to have an ROI. If I invest in these 60 leads, you're telling me I can get 2 applications possibly, and it's not in every single batch. Remember, everything is in is an average number, right? So you got to do it consistently every single week. So if I have like the lowest lead possible, right? Let's say the CIH, right? And I'm getting 60 of them a week, and I know I should write about 2 applications per batch of 60. That doesn't mean this week I'm going to write two apps. That means if I consistently for 6 weeks, this week I get 60 leads and I try to resolve as many as possible. Didn't write an application. Week 2, I got another 60 leads, didn't write an application. But then week 3, I got another 60 leads and I finally wrote 5 application. That just brings me back to the average number of every 60, right, CIH that I get, I'm going to have 1 to 2 applications. Does that make sense? What happens a lot as a new agent is we forget that this is the law of large numbers, or an average of 6 weeks. And you invest this week and you don't write anything. You're like, oh, that didn't work. Then you go into week 2 and you're like, I'm going to get a little bit less because last time I didn't get that many, but I still have some. And now you're changing the numbers, and instead of 60, I'm getting 30. And then I didn't write anything this week. And then now I'm on week 3 and I'm like, I'm going to get 20. I have a whole bunch of other unresolved leads and I still haven't written anything. Well, now you just changed all the math, right? Because you went down in leads, you didn't stay at 60. Maybe if you're not putting in the right activity, you're not resolving them properly, and you're making it harder to write apps every single. You're actually making it worse, thinking you're making it better because you lowered the lead intake on the same caliber of leads, and you're putting in the same amount of activity that you did. And now you're not trafficking your leads as much as you should, so you're not resolving them enough, right? I know that sounds a little, right, complicated, but I just want y'all to understand when you change what you do every single week, you reset or you change all our numbers, right? So you're literally making it harder to find success because you're what's the phrase? You're worried about, you're trying to make sure you're not failing when you're not worrying about making sure. How's it go, Amber? You send it to me, didn't you?
It's from Jim Larson. So instead of making sure that failing isn't your fault, make sure that winning is your responsibility.
Right? That's so good, right? Like, think about that, right? Instead of being in defense mode and like, oh, right, a business owner cannot be in defense mode, right? You will shut your own doors. What do I mean by that? So if I'm operating my hamburger joint and I didn't sell the hamburgers I wanted to this week, right, and labor got tight, and employees need to get paid. So next week I say, hey, you know what? Instead of closing at 10 p.m., right, we were open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now this week, because I need to save on labor, I'm going to open from 10 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. The only thing you're promising is less sales. You are operating less hours. So every time you adjust your lead budget down, the only thing you guarantee, I promise you, the only thing you guarantee yourself is less sales. Because I want y'all to write this number down. Okay. So $250 to $300. Write that number down. $250 to $300 equals $1,000. And I'm giving y'all worst case scenario. That means every $250 to $300 I invest in leads, I should make, and that's deposit, $1,000. Okay. Knowing that math, wherever you're at, right? Maybe you're starting with $50 worth of leads. Maybe you're starting with 500, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But knowing that math, 250 makes 1,000. Anytime your lead investment goes down, it is physically impossible to make more money. So when you are not having a week or two that you want to have, and you lower your lead investment, you just made it worse by choice. I promise, because you're not letting the law of 6 weeks kick into place. Remember, right? Like I love these stories. So many agents, right, will have like I think Nate had like a $4,800 Sunday. He didn't even dial on Sunday. but it was because of the work he put in the past 2 weeks from a follow-up or a reschedule or just having enough in his pipeline that you write a $5,000 day. A lot of times an agent's like, how come that never happens to me? It's because you're changing everything and you're not allowing it to happen to you, right? You got to have the leads and you got to have the investment. You cannot stop, right? Because what happens is you'll get these little spurts of apps and APV that ends up bringing your average back up, right? But remember, it's 6 weeks. Remember, in sales, a month can look ugly, and in 1 week change everything. So you have to remember that in sales. You can be having, and any of my top producers that are out there, right? They're like, though, because we have tech streams, right? And they're like, Monday sucked, Tuesday, they're like, oh my God, it's a horrible week. Thursday, and it's always the last ones, Cody, right? And then it's Friday afternoon, and all of a sudden they wrote 3 or 4 instant issue policies for $6,000. And all of a sudden it was a great week. Right? So you got to allow that, because that'll happen in weeks too, right? Like week 1 was horrible. I only wrote 1 application, then the next one was only 2, right? And in fact, that happened to me in July. I was traveling, whatever it may be, but then I look at the month and it was a 15,000 issue paid month. That's not a bad month. Felt like a bad month, Cody, because I was traveling. 1 week I wrote like 1 app for 500. Another week I only wrote one for like, I want to say like $800. But then we look at the whole entire month and I issued 15,000. Right? You got to let the numbers play out. So many times we start cutting things because we get in defense mode, right? We're worried about failing and we don't allow ourselves to have the opportunity to win. So this is 100% entrepreneur mind thinking, right? Like you have to be ready to invest and depend on yourself, because that's the only thing you can rely on, your activity, right? You can rely on your investment and your activity. You cannot rely on people picking up the phone. You cannot rely on people showing up for the appointment, and you cannot rely on a yes. Okay. I'm going to give you average numbers, right? But again, you can't rely on any of them. You have to depend on yourself here. You have to be consistently working to get the results that you want. So I always love to, I'm going to go through 2 slides. And if you've ever been on the New Agent Kickoff, you're going to find these very familiar, right? Because again, what I fell in love with is I just needed to know the stats. So many times an agent will call us and they're like, oh my God, like Amber, I've been dialing all day. I only got 3 appointments for, right, 2 for tomorrow and 1 the next day. Like I have 60 leads. I'm failing. Like, well, if you have CIH leads, you're crushing it, right? But again, do you know the expectation of the leads that you have and the amount of leads that you have? So I'm going to give you all this. This is contacts to appointment set. Okay. And I'm going to break these numbers down for you. You have to, this is what makes you money. You have to fall in love with these 2 concepts so that you don't think you're failing, because it feels like you're failing. You get no's and you get a whole bunch of them depending on the leads that you have. So if we know we have MIA leads, right? I'm going to start at the very top. If I have MIA leads, if I'm getting 10 of them, right, I should be able to book 6 to 8 appointments out of 10 leads. On average, not every 10, I'm going to have 6 to 8 appointments. It's every 10 when I start breaking, right? When I absorb 20 MIAs a week, 4 weeks later, right? Of what is that? 20 times 4, 80 leads. I'm going to have, right, 6 to 8 appointments every 10. That math will always math. I promise you. And these are average numbers. That means there's some people that are crushing it, that are getting even more, some people that are getting even less. Don't worry about that. It's an average number. Same thing for CIAs, right? Every 10 CIA leads that I have, I'm going to, right, every 4 to 5 contacts, I'm going to book an appointment, right? Or I'm going to book 4 to 5 appointments every 10 leads, should I say? I'm sorry, right? So about a little under half of your CIA leads, brand new leads, you will book about half of them. Okay, that's a really good goal. So that means if I have 20 CIAs coming in a week, I should be able to book about 8 to 10 appointments. right? If I have 40 CIA leads coming in a week, I'm probably going to be booking about 18 to 20 appointments out of those. These are just booked appointments. Okay. This is how I know, am I getting the results that I'm supposed to have? Now, these bottom ones are a little bit different. These are bonus leads, right? So I'm going to start with the very bottom. Let's go I think they're CIH now, right? CIH and CIGs, they're going to be very similar in results. Every 12 to 15 people that pick up the phone and tell you no, that's when you barely get an appointment. Better fall in love with that number so that you're not confused. And Patrick, you call us and you're like, man, I'm on CIGs and everyone's telling me no. The first thing I'm going to say, what do you got? And you got, I got CIGs. I'm like, yeah. So you're doing what, yeah, everyone's supposed to tell you no. Every 12 to 15 people you talk to are going to tell you no. That is the right expectation, right? And I'm going to give you all some even cooler numbers to look at in a little bit. But you got to expect that, right? If I start moving up, right? CIFs, it's every 10 to 12 people that tell me no, I have one appointment. You got to fall in love with these numbers. You move all the way up to a CIB. Every 5 to 6 people I talk to that tell me no, I'm going to book an appointment. Even at this level, listen to what these numbers sound like. That means if you dial 200 dials and you talk to 20 people, you only have 4 appointments to maybe 8, if that. And you talk to 20 people, that means 15 other people told you no in different ways. I don't care how they told you. And I think it's very important to talk about that. Especially as a new agent, or if you're not reading your book of the month. And let me tell you, you better be reading your book of the month because this is all in here. Okay. You're going to believe there's a sale being made no matter what. Either you're the selling agent or the client's selling the agent. Okay. What do I mean by that? They're going to tell you, I already have my house paid off. How many of y'all have ever heard your client say, hey, we already paid that off? I don't owe on anything. That's a very common thing. I want y'all to think about this. I've been on this earth for 40 years. I don't think I know anyone that has ever paid off their house, let alone within 2 years, which all our leads are within 2 years. Do you know anyone that paid off their 200, 100, $500,000 house in 2 years? I don't. They're lying to you and you're buying it. Yeah. You already paid that off. Okay. Sorry. Bye. Sold. They win. Right? What else do they tell us? I didn't fill out that form. I don't know what you're talking about. I already have this. No, they don't. Most folks don't even know what this is. The mortgage companies do not tell them anymore. They think it's either homeowner insurance or PMI. When they tell you, I already have this, Daniel, y'all better follow that script to a T because no, they don't. I promise you, no, they don't. They have PMI or they have homeowners insurance. 2 requirements. If they don't put 20% down on their house, bank makes them get PMI, private mortgage insurance. Oh, look, sounds just like ours, private mortgage insurance. What do we sell? Mortgage insurance. They're going to tell you, I already have it. No, they don't. It's required. What is that? It's like gap insurance for the mortgage company. Does not protect. The day they pass away, nothing happens. The private mortgage insurance is the day they default on the home and they have to go short sell that house. And if Amanda, I gave you 400,000 for your house as a bank and you default, I just put it in an auction. I don't go put it for sale. I put it in an auction and I sell it for 300,000 and your PMI that you paid for pays me the other 100 grand. It's gap insurance for the bank, not for you, not for the clients, right? So they don't have it. Homeowners insurance, they think they were required, right? Homeowners insurance is like car insurance. It protects the structure that the bank invested in, right? And make sure if there's a fire, flood, whatever, it'll fix it for them. That's all that is. Okay. It does not protect the client in case they pass away. They do not have mortgage protection. The only time you're going to say you're going to absorb that, right, is, hey, Amber, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. This is mortgage protection, mortgage insurance in case you pass away. The house is paid off. A lot of folks confuse this with homeowners insurance or PMI. Yep, no, I know exactly what that is, Amber. I actually sat with an agent a couple of weeks ago. We looked at the full mortgage payoff. blah, 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 whatever. No. Perfect. That is a resolved lead. If anywhere in between there, they don't tell you that conversation and they hung up on you, they cussed at you, they told you I already have it, whatever it may be, that is not a resolved lead because you were not able to say, hey, I just want to make sure, Amber, we're talking about the same thing. This is mortgage protection, mortgage insurance. You pass away, it pays off the house for your wife. That's what we're talking about. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Great. Bye. That is a resolved lead. If you don't have that sentence and that little conversation, you better keep calling those leads. There is no rule,
I
right?
might be
There is
on.
no
Do I have
rule.
him?
You keep on calling folks. So just fall in love with this stats right here because that's how you get those, right? If they're telling you no for whatever reason, I have it, but who cares? Who cares? We get so stuck as an agent. They're telling me they don't have mortgage. It's the wrong person. That's usually you falling off of script, right? Because they gave us their cell phone number. You're calling the right person. It is you. It ain't them. I promise you. Okay. But just understand it's a no. Who cares how you get your no? Some no's are nice. No, Mickey, thank you. Yes, I know what it is. I don't want this. Other no's like, stop calling me. You're a scammer. It doesn't matter. It's 5 out of 6 people are going to tell you no, and then you're going to get a yes. Think of the appointments you have booked. Karen, aren't they the best when you book them? Yep, yep, yeah. Tomorrow at 3, yeah, me and my wife can be there. Yeah, okay, yeah, that'll work. And so just, I mean, do we both got to be there? Is it going to be on Zoom? Yes, blah, blah. And then they let you book an appointment. That's what you're looking for. You are not trying to convince people or force people to sit in an appointment. If you're at any point force them, they were probably one of the 5 or 6. You were just a better salesman at that point, and you forced them to jump in an appointment. Don't get upset if you didn't write an app, right? They were not the easy one. You were looking for the folks that, yes, thank you for calling. No one's ever called me. Oh, God, we've been blowing your phone up. What are you talking about? Right? That's what you're looking for the families that are going to let you book an appointment and go over the coverage. You get to consult with them, see if they need it, and then they say yes. That's what we want. Anything outside of that is going to be a chargeback or a no. Who cares? Okay, so fall in love with these. Again, if you're doing MIGs, right, you're going to, again, 10 out of 12 people are going to tell you no, then you're going to get a yes. You go all the way to MIB, every 3 to 4 no's, that's when you get a yes. This is what keeps your number sane. So when you look at your dials for the day, right, 150, 10 contacts, 1 appointment, what lead type were you working? Do you fall in this number? That's how you know you're doing good. Most of y'all, if you looked at your lead type and you did that with your 3 sets of numbers, right, dials, contacts to appointments, I can almost bet y'all are better than these results. It doesn't feel like it, right? Because you're in the middle of it, right? So you're like, oh, another no, another no. But then you go back to this lead sheet and you're like, oh, wait, I'm doing good. Use this sheet to make sure you're doing good, right? And if you're not, counsel with your upline. The next one, this one was the one I fell in love with because this one told me how many leads I need to go get so that I can go get an application. Okay. So this one was super easy for me, right? MIAs, every 10 leads I get, I should have 3 applications. Again, remember, this is an average. Doesn't mean every specific, if I order 10 MIAs this week, boom, 3 apps. No, right? It's consistently over 6 weeks. You can get 10 brand new leads and not write a single thing this week. You can get 10 brand new leads next week and not write a single thing. You're building a client funnel. Understand the numbers. Then on week 3, when now you're at 30, in 3 homes, you write 4 applications, right? In one, 2 in another, 1 in another. Oh my God, look, I divide the numbers and I'm right back where I need to be, right? Every 10, I'm at 3. Again, this is an average, but you got to let the average numbers play out. What gets hard when I start investing in leads like this is I'm like, oh, Amber, I got to cough up another $350 this week and I didn't write an app. Guess what? You're a business owner. Welcome. Welcome, right? Every week or every month in the business, I had to go buy hamburger meat. Every week I had to buy hamburger meat. Every month I had to pay the electric bill. that didn't stop me from being in business. Welcome to being a business owner. You are a business owner. This is an entrepreneur position. You invest in leads. If not, you have no business. That would be like the hamburger joint saying, this month I'm not gonna pay the electric bill, Daniel. We'll be fine. You can't, right? This week I'm not gonna buy hamburger meat. We'll be fine. You won't, right? You have to be able to invest every single week at whatever level you're at, right? The cool part is treat it like a business. And I think it's very important to also know when we're investing in these leads, pay your business first. Okay. Because I'm going to hit on that too. Make a little note on that. Okay. Because you need to know what you need to be profitable and pay your bills. Okay. If not, you will stay in the struggle bus. But I'm going to leave that little conversation for a little bit later. But so here, right, I fell in love with this for CIAs. I love CIAs. I just like more opportunities because I'm not good at this. Okay. Y'all may look at my numbers. I suck at this. I just outwork my problems. I will dial more than anyone. That's the only reason you see me go put up 15 to 40 grand in a month. Daniel, it ain't because I'm good at this. It's just because I'm going to keep working until I get the results that I want. I promise y'all, my agents make fun of me because I am not good at this. I get more no's, think about it than anyone. I just outwork my problems. I will go out dial. Sometimes I have 2,500 dials a week. A week. Y'all can't tell me I'm good at this. I'm not. I'm not Elijah. I'm not Xander. I'm not James. I'm not Amber. 2,500 dials a week sometimes so that I can go write 40 grand in a month. I just outwork the crap out of my problems. That's all I do. Right. So now that I know this, when I was looking at bonus leads, I'm like, okay, sweet. So if I'm going to go buy 40-cent leads and 50-cent leads, Roberto, if I want one or two applications, I need to have 200 leads. So if you're working these leads and you're like, Brittany, I'm dialing all day and I have my CIO, I got $20 worth of leads and this is horrible. Like everyone told me, no crap, right? Because according to these numbers, if I only have 2 leads and 200 dials, y'all realize that's 198 people that are going to tell you no. Maybe even 199 because you only wrote 2 apps and 1 home. Do y'all understand that? 198 people. How many of y'all buy 100 leads a week? You don't, right? So what makes it even worse, right? So if I know I'm buying the cheapest lead that we can get and I'm only getting 30 or 40 leads a week, you don't even have an app in that batch. But you just got to work your numbers wherever you're at. It's perfectly fine. Just realize it's going to take you 2 or 3 weeks to go find your 1 or 2 apps. If every single week you're buying 40 to 50 leads, 4 weeks later, you're up to 200 leads. And oh, look, Roberto, I wrote 2 apps. Like magic. No, it's the numbers. You need 200 40-cent leads to go find 2 apps. So just fall in love with this, right? So I just wanted a little bit better chances. So I wrote my first application. What you need to do as a business owner is make sure you don't spend your money don't drown your business. Your first $2,000 in deposits is not your money. That is your operating business money. You should not touch your first $2,000 in deposits. That ain't your money. That's your hamburger meat, your electric bill. That is your business money. You cannot touch that because you need to have revolving every single week. You need to be able to invest in leads. So then I just understood if I go to CIC leads, Robert, right? I get to do every 20, I'll go write an app. That sounded a little bit better for me, right? So I started here at the 100 mark and I was like, that was a tough week. Let me make it a little bit better for me. And you just got to start increasing and treating this like a business and falling in love with these numbers, right? How many leads did you get this week? What kind were they? Do you even have enough leads to write an app? Sometimes, right, an agent, some of y'all that have been here, let's say a year, or let's say 4 months to about a year, right? You're like, hey, well, I bought another $100 worth of leads. I got a couple, right? I got another 15 CICs or CIBs. Remember, that's barely enough for one, and you don't know if it's this week. That's not promised. What's promised is you do it consistently for 6 weeks, the numbers will math out. I promise,
Mm.
right? If you do all that, right? So you just got to pay attention to what leads you're intaking. Do you have the math to get the lead, to get the application? Because for me, this was important. I was like, sweet, how fast can I get another 20 and then another 20 and another 20? And I didn't worry about, did I write this week? Because it will always math out 6 weeks later. Because all of a sudden, that's where you have a $10,000 week, a $5,000 week. It's just the math catching up, right? You fed the pipeline for your clients, and you had enough no-shows, you had enough reschedules, you had enough of everything finally add up, right? But it's where you change it every single week, right? So if this week I got 20 and next week I got 10, you're making the math harder, right? You are the problem by not being consistent. Just love these numbers. For me, it was peace, right? Because I was like, oh, it's not me, right? It's not me personally. It's what I'm doing, right? I need to make sure I'm consistent and I give myself the best odds, right? Because then look, you can even favor your side. I want to have the highest opportunity to write an app. Sweet. Well, if my budget is CIBs instead of 14, why don't I go buy 45? Now this week I have odds on my side to write 6 apps. And if I do it consistently for 3 weeks, maybe this week I write 2, but that means next week I write 8. Right? I get to put the numbers in my favor if you start understanding this math. Right? That's why for me it was, how fast can I get to these leads? And then how much can I get of them? And I just found the great formula for me. If I'm at 40 CI leads, maybe one week I write 1 app, but the next week I have a $10,000 week. And it's always going to math out, right? But you get to leverage the system and take the pressure off of you if you work it correctly, right? And then you put the numbers on your favor, right? Right? We got conference coming up and we're like, hey, I want to have the cash flow glow. Sweet. These 2 weeks is when you should buy more leads and dial more. That's how you have a great week or two before going to the conference. It's simple. You just invest in more leads or you invest in more activity, right? And it's got to be a mixture of both for the right formula, right? You can't just go buy more leads and dial the same and be like, oh, well, I just wasted another $500. Duh, right? More leads, more activity, right? Or more activity and not more leads does not equal more apps, because this formula that you're looking at is the master. So just because you went and dialed 1,000 dials this week, but you didn't buy leads this week, you are not promised an app. Don't call your upline and say, man, I gave it my all, right? And I dialed like crazy and nothing. No, you didn't. You didn't follow the instructions, right? Like, you have to invest in lead. Like, it's a mixture of both. So understand that. I just love this one too, right? It's just a friendly reminder. These are worst case scenarios. Every 250, I should deposit net. This is important, net, right? Because I probably made $1,000, right? 250 makes 1,000, but I'm a business owner. That means I only netted 750, because the other 250 from my lead has to be pulled out of my deposits. It goes back to my $2,000 batch. Right? Remember, your first $2,000 is not your money, it's your business lead money. It goes back to that account wherever you have it stored. You got to have it. I only invested twice ever in Symmetry out of my own pocket. After that, my business has always supplied my leads and anything I've ever done. Yours probably did too. The only problem is you went and spent it, right, on your own personal stuff. You can't do that. As a business owner, I want y'all to write this down. As a business owner, somebody give me a thumbs up once you write it down. As a business owner, everyone else and everything else gets paid before me. Everyone else and everything else gets paid before me. You are a business owner. You better fall in love with that concept. What does that mean? As a business owner, sometimes I make $5,000 a month. Sometimes I make 20 grand a month. That's going to be based on my business expenses, right? Not my personal bills. They cannot absorb my business money because then I have no business. Okay, y'all have to fall in love with that. Sometimes it's tight. You're going to make a payment late, right? For your car, your house, whatever. If you go make that payment, you have no more leads. You might as well close your doors. Your business will shut down, right? It's the hamburger joint making the decision if I'm going to go make my BMW payment instead of buying hamburger meat. That'll make me more money to make my BMW payment, right? So understand, right? This is a business. Everything else and everyone else gets paid before you. The day you do that the other way, you have no business because you can't invest in leads, right? That's the bad part. The great part is if you do this properly, a business owner makes more money than anyone else, right? So you have that opportunity. So fall in love with these. Again, the more you increase every 350, right? As a consistent writer, you've written probably about 15 applications. Now you're making them, right? You're getting more profitable. Your ROI is getting better, right? Last month, even though I only wrote and issued 15 grand, but I only spent, I think, like 3,500 in leads. That was a great ROI, right? It was almost 5 times because it made 15,000 in deposits on 3,500 bucks. You also got to let that one play out, right? And I want to talk a little bit on that. As your leads, as you're writing business and you're growing, this is why it's important in production that you know this, because this makes you more profitable. Your slingshot bonus, right? Or promotion, should I say, right? Or just the regular promotion. Are you at 80? When you get to 85, you're just more profitable. When you get to 90, you're just more profitable. When you're at 95, when you're at 100, it's a beautiful place. What you write, you make. When I understood that, for me, Steve, was how fast can I get to 100% commission? Because then it's easy math. What I write in APV is what I make, right? And that's where that was the battle that I was trying to get to make sure it was a little bit easier for me. So fall in love with those concepts. Now I want to talk about, okay, if I know the lead batches, this is very important. I don't care what kind of lead.
Frozen Joe. I was getting ready to say the same thing.
Yes, looks a little frozen.
Is James frozen?
At first, I thought
Am
it
I
was
back?
You're
me.
back, Joe. Joe, we lost you
back.
for a second.
All right.
There we go.
All right. So the next thing is, right, is lead batches, knowing your lead batches. You should never have a minimum, or you should never have less than 30 leads a week and never more than 60. Okay. You cannot work more than 60 leads. I watch all y'all's numbers. None of y'all dial enough, right? Not even me. Okay. What do I mean by that? If you have 60 leads and I got to call them in the morning and in the evening, if I triple dial them, that's 180 each time, right? Just simple math. You're talking about you better be pushing 360 dials a day. How many of y'all dial more than 200 a day? Right? So you cannot have 60 leads in your batch. Okay? You have to be careful with that. If you have 30 leads in your batch, 30 leads, that's almost 100 dials just to go through them in the morning. That's 100 dials to go through them in the evening. That means you better be putting up more than 150 dials a day just to say you traffic them twice. Because if you're not doing that, you are not resolving leads. And you have to do that for 4 days to 5 days a week. Right? So what happens if, hey, I made the mistake, Joe, I have 150 leads in my system. Don't freak out. Just batch them out, right? Pull out 40 or 60, whatever you know you're willing to dial for the day, and then start resolving that batch. Okay, once you're down to about 30 or 20, you restock to whatever number you need to restock to, right? Back to 60, no more than 60. That's how you can resolve all those leads, okay? But you got to be able to resolve them Don't get more than, right? So the problem with bonus leads is like, oh, they're only 50 cents. I'm gonna go get 100. No, don't. Right? You won't traffic them. Again, you're making it worse, even though you feel you're doing the right thing. But I got more leads, Joe. Yeah, but you ain't trafficking them. Like if you're gonna go dial 500 dials a day, rock and roll, you will traffic them and you'll get results. You'll get results really fast. But if you're not, then you're not, right? The next thing on that, right, is if I have 60 leads, again, if you're working bonus leads, that means maybe you have 6 booked appointments, right? And again, just an average of leads of whatever you have, right? But if you're working bonus leads and you have 60 leads, you maybe have 6 appointments in that batch. What's important to remember there is that means you have 54 no's. You still have 54 no's in a batch of 60. 54 no's are horrible, but just know your number, right? That means 54 people are going to tell you no. I don't care how they tell you no, Matt. Whether they tell you, right, I already got it, this was a scam, no, I don't want it, whatever, I don't have a mortgage, I paid it off, that's not my name. Who cares? The no, right? Do not. We get so tight, like, oh my God, they told me this, and this is the 3rd person that told me. Who cares? 54 no's. Go count your no's, and I promise you, you're going to be at 6. And I'm giving y'all some very low numbers. I bet you if you have 60 leads and you actually dial the way you dial, you probably have 12 appointments. Okay? I'm just giving you worst case scenario. If you're under the numbers that I'm telling you, you need to be counseled a lot, right? Go get counseled. Don't try to do this by yourself. But there's 54 no's. That means if you have batches of 30, because I don't know if y'all been into opt, right? If I'm going to go buy CICs and down, it maxes me out now at 30, right? Now you can get different levels to get up to 60, right? So I can get 30 CICs and then I can get 30, right, CIDs. Do that. But just know your numbers, right? You're going to get told if I have a batch of 30, that's still 27 no's. That's still 27 no's out of 30. That means it very easily, Steve, will feel like I bought this batch of leads and everybody told me no. How many of y'all have ever said that? I got a bad batch of leads. I bought these batch of leads and everyone thought, duh. Listen to the numbers, 27 people. It's hard to mine for 3 yeses, right? And the 3 yeses are so mixed up, right? Because that means maybe I booked 5 appointments. They all no showed me. I rebooked them again. 2 showed up. 1 finally said yes, right? So there's a lot of mining in there. Just again, understand you're just working leads. It is absolutely normal. Dials. I want to make sure we talk about dials. You should be calling your leads twice a day. If you're a part-timer, it is what it is. You're going to dial them once. But if not, you need to be dialing them in the mornings and in the evenings. You don't know if most of these are mortgage protection. That means they have a job because they just bought a house. So they work. You don't know when they work. These are the greatest leads in the whole wide world. I promise you. You are still randomly calling them, right? They don't know when you nowhere did it say, hey, Charles is going to call you tomorrow at 3:17. They don't know that. You're still randomly calling them whenever you wanted to call. They may be at the grocery store. They may be at work. They may just be upset with their kid. They may be in the pool. They may pop some popcorn in the microwave and you're calling and they're like, yeah, no. I'm going to enjoy my popcorn. You will get a no for that. Okay. Just understand it's nothing personal. It's the numbers. Who cares? Just play your numbers, right? Make sure you get the sentence out. Establish why you're calling, but you got to give your lead the opportunity. Did you call in the morning and the evening? Did you triple dial in the morning and triple dial in the evening? Yes, that means you call somebody 6 times in the day. You do not need to change your phone number. You're not a secret agent. You want them to know you are calling them for mortgage protection. Okay? Telemarketers change their phone numbers because they think randomly calling you once, or it's not even them, it's a system, right? Like their system automatically changes their number and randomly calls them. Okay? You're not a telemarketer. You want them to see your phone number pop up 6, 10, 12 times in a couple of days. they're going to pick up and be like, why the hell are you calling me? Hey, I'm simply calling for the mortgage protection. You filled out the form, blah, 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 blah. Stick to your script. Okay. You don't need to be a secret agent by trying to hide your phone number and got them. They didn't see that phone number coming. No, right? You want them to see your phone number and pick up because they're like, holy cow, somebody's trying to get a hold of me. Expectation on lead intake. Again, it's very important you run this like a business. You got to know what you need to pay your bills, right? You got to know how much, what your commission level is, and based on the leads that you get, how much you're supposed to make. Because again, you could think you're doing all the right activity. What is the right activity, but doing it the wrong way sound like or look like? I have an agent that says, hey, I'm getting 20 CIAs now, Joe. Right? And I'm calling decent, not the best, but I'm doing a pretty good job. 20 CIAs is just enough to be broke. What do I mean by that? It's just enough to write 1 or 2 apps based on the numbers. And that's just enough to clear your lead investment again on Friday. Where does that leave you? Working all week with no extra money. That's failing. I'm doing all the right things. I got an SLO, Joe, and I'm doing it all right. No, you're not. You're not. It's like the hamburger joint just buys enough hamburger meat to pay labor and pay the bills. As the business owner, how am I supposed to be profitable? Where's my money? Well, that means instead of buying 50 pounds of hamburger meat, I need to buy 100 because 50 pays the bills. And then the other 50 is my profit. So you have to think of that as your leads too. So if you're only getting so many leads, you're just enough to pay your bills or pay the lead investment, even worse, not even pay your bills. So you got to know what right? Most of y'all paying your bills and your lead investment, I promise you, you're probably going to be around 500 to 750 in leads a week, right? But you just got to build to it and build to it properly, right? Because we all want to make at the end of the month, when all my business expenses, I want to be able to deposit 5 to 10 grand, right? But that means you got to be able to absorb for anywhere, let's say $2,000 or $4,000 worth of business expenses. So that means you actually got to deposit 12 grand. And to deposit 12 grand, you need to write 20 at a starting contract. So most of you are just doing enough to stay broke. Right? Like it's just simple math. You got to understand what your bills are, right? And where you fall in there. And once you figure that out, I promise it gets easier. And here's the even funner part. When you start investing in more leads, better quality leads, and you dial more, right? More activity. Oh my God, you start finding so many yeses, right? You start finding those layups. But you're playing defense. That means you're playing not to lose. So like, oh, this week I'm only going to buy this many. You're making it worse. I promise you. It's opposite thinking, right? Like you are literally making it worse, even though you think you are protecting yourself, right? Because instantly we're like, well, I'm going to invest less because I'm losing money. No, you're not. You're filling the bucket. You're getting more hamburger meat to sell. Anytime, I don't care what it, in fact, I make business decisions like that, right? I have a very large organization. Sometimes I have a lot of trips. Thank God we won a whole bunch. And so like July was like, hey, I'm going to be gone here. I have this plan. I'm going to be gone almost 3 weeks. I'm going to lower my lead investment because I know I'm going to write less. And guess what? July, I wrote less. I only wrote 15 grand compared to the month before where I wrote and issued 30 grand. Because I purposely lowered my lead investment, right? So anytime you say next week it got tight and I'm going to buy less leads, you are purposely lowering your income. The math is math. You can't, money doesn't grow on trees, right? It grows from the leads, right? So you gotta go buy more leads so that you can have more opportunity to write option or to write clients, right? So just understand that math. That's the expectation you should have. Dial until you resolve them. Okay. There's also a misconception out there. I'm only going to call my leads 30 times, right? That means 30 individual dials. I'm only going to call them twice. And if they no show me, I ain't ever calling them back. All kinds of stuff, right? Realize that's why Symmetry leads are the best bonus leads out there, because there's a whole bunch of agents saying that. Okay. If you don't call your lead and resolve them, I promise you somebody else will. And they're going to do it for cheaper, right? So if you bought a CIA, if I buy a CIA lead and it costs me $30 and I don't resolve it, right? Daniel, you get to go buy it for $13 and resolve it. And then if you don't do it, Charles is going to come and get him for $450 and he's going to go resolve it. And if he doesn't do that, right, Charles is going to do it for $150 and he's going to resolve it. Somebody's going to call them and resolve it. I promise you. Why not it be you? You already have that lead. Call them until you resolve them. What does that mean? Until you say that one sentence, right? Hey, Noah, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. This is the mortgage protection. In case you pass away, it pays off the house, right? That's what we're talking about. Yes, great. If they hang up on you, if they do anything and you didn't do that, you call them again. There's nothing wrong with, hey, Karen, I know you hung up on me. I just want to make sure we're right. A lot of folks think I'm something else. I just want to do the best by you. This is mortgage protection. Yes, I know what that. Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure you're leaving money on the table. And then even worse, you probably just don't even call them back because they didn't write. Remember, it takes 3 to 4 rebooks to write a client on average. 3 to 4 rebooks. So you should be excited when they've no-showed you 2 to 3 times. That means they're really close to telling you, not yes, telling you no, or telling you yes. One of the two. That's resolving the lead. Resolving the lead is not I got an app. It's that they say yes or no. A think about it is not a resolve either. I have been in the think about it train before, right? I sat with a whole bunch of folks and I kept getting think about it. And I'm like, sweet, one of them, nope. You need to get a yes or a no right there and then. Fall in love with this number. I want y'all to write this down. 1 out of 10. Please write that down. 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10 think about it, or you not writing them right there and then in the very first appointment. 1 out of 10. I don't care how far you got in the application. All I need is that final signature. I just need their bank. No, they promised, they pinky sweared, Mickey, they said they're going to buy me Starbucks and I'm going to meet them because it was an in-person. I don't care what it is. 1 out of 10. Fall in love with that number. So all your think about it now became science. Matt, now I'm excited. Oh, another think about it. Great. Do you know how many think about it I have in my pipeline right now? Probably about 30. So that means as I consistently rebook them and sit with those, I'm going to have like 3 or 4 apps because it's 1 out of 10. But I know that math and I am not reliant on that think about it, right? I'm booking more appointments because 1 out of 10 ain't going to keep me in business, right? But it's that low hanging fruit, right? Understand the workflow of these leads so that you can find results. Let's see. You got to know the numbers on your leads. This is probably the most important part to find what's going to work for you. Again, Elijah does great with whatever leads he does. I do great with whatever leads I do. You do great with whatever leads you do. Do you have a tracking system to find that out? What does that mean? How many CICs are you getting? How many CIBs are you getting? How many CIAs, MIAs, digital leads, whatever you're working, right? And then how many apps are you writing on those leads and how many leads does it take you to write that app? All of you have that number. You just got to go figure it out, right? Do the math and do it to a T. You have to know. If you understand that number, Charles, if last month you wrote $5,000, right? And you had a mixture of CICs and you had, right, CIBs, but we look at your numbers and you didn't write a single CIBs and you wrote nothing but CICs, that's great. Let's get more CICs and you're going to write more business. I can literally tell you if you double your CIC intake, you double your lead, your APV and your profit. But because you don't know that, you're like, oh, well, these are CICs. They're lower. I'm gonna stop buying these, and then I'm gonna go double down on CIBs. You made the worst business decision ever because you didn't track your numbers. You didn't write a single CIB. Do you know what you just promised your business? Almost zero APV. How many of y'all have changed leads and you're like, what happened? Because you're not tracking your numbers, right? I just had an agent do something very similar. They just had they had like a $12,000 month, right? And they switched, but we don't know. Hopefully it was the right decision, but I'm like, hey, find out what leads you wrote 12 grand in last month. And how about we make sure those are not the ones you turned off? And they're like, holy cow, I never even thought about that. Right? So find out where your business that's how I found out I suck at MIAs. That's how I found out CICs are where my sweet spot, right? Jeffrey Miller was the opposite. He would buy tons of CIAs, and we looked at his business. He wouldn't write a single one. All his business came from MIAs. I'm like, dude, stop buying CIAs and just buy MIAs. You're crushing it. Right? So figure out what you got to know the numbers on your leads. Stop trying to do this without a tracking system. No hamburger joint, no business in America runs off of, oh, well, I got leads and I bought some stuff and I made some money. No, they know percentages. They know everything down to the penny. Why are you trying to operate a business and not track it down to the penny? Right? You should have 3 trackers: a budget tracker, money out, money in, an activity tracker. That means what leads, how many dials, contacts, booked appointments, no shows, everything. You should know everything activity wise. And then the final tracker is your issue paid, because how are you going to run for your next promotion if you don't know what you have issue paid for the month? Stop trying to wing this business. This is we're the 9th highest paying company in the country. 9th highest paying company in the country does not mean 100 grand. Doesn't mean 100, making 200,000 plus. 200,000 plus. If you are not making 200,000 plus at the 9th highest paying company in the country, you just simply have work to do. Doesn't mean you're bad at it, just means you got work to do. Right? I think that's everything I have. Questions on any of that? We got a minute or two.
Hey, Joe, I'm not sure if you saw my question in the chat. Do we happen to have the conversion of Lighthouse leads to apps? Do we have that anywhere?
It's very similar to CIAs.
Okay.
Right?
CIA.
The only
Gotcha.
difference with digital leads is there's a longer runway to start seeing results. So I think the average purchase to app, I want to say, is like 14, 17 days.
Okay.
So that means don't expect anything for 2 weeks, right? You're not until week 3 is when you should start seeing, right? So that's the only thing that I know on those. But again, there's stats, right? Go into, it actually has those. I didn't make those numbers up. They're actually in the lead stat, right? When you go to the lead fact sheets, it tells you all that good stuff.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. Great
Hey,
question.
Joe and team. My name is Danny. I'm new. I'm still waiting to get my license here in the state of California. Joe, I actually just watched your video on errors and omissions. So I just got that insurance on there. With the MIA and the CIA leads, will I know a little more about them as I get into the program and I'm purchasing leads? What's the biggest difference?
Yeah. So they're just brand new, right? So
Okay.
all leads, it's just, right, they're just getting older.
Okay.
So that's
Awesome.
all it is. It's all the same leads, right? It just takes a little more activity, but they're cheaper. Right?
And
So
when
you
I
wanna
do
start-
purchase a lead, how long do I have that lead before it's given to the next agent?
So
or
it'll depend on the lead, but it'll be anywhere from 30 days to about 14 or 17 days, I think.
Oh, okay, terrific.
Yeah, plenty
Well,
of time.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate all the support. I can't wait to start dialing, and I'm super ready for this. I'm ready to be part of a great team.
Love it. Awesome. Any more questions? All right. Y'all know what to do. Please track all your numbers. Again, don't try to figure this out by yourself. You should meet with your upline and say, hey, let's figure out how I make more money here. This is literally an ATM. You slide in a 20, $100 bill has to come out. You are the only person stopping that, I promise you. We just need a tweak, right? We just need to tweak whatever you're doing, because it's, if you're not making that kind of money, again, you're just doing something right a little bit off, and it's hard to find. So you just got, that's why everything's a 6-week average. You got to be able to work with somebody. But thanks for hopping on, and we'll see you all in the next one.